I will say Kellen Moore for the same reason that I say you have a pressure pack situation for Jalen Hurts. There ain't no excuses.
Welcome back in, everybody, to Friday's edition of Birds 365. Shout out to Robert and Slagger and Twiz. Up over 100 likes. If you like Marc Farzetta, smash that like
button. Who doesn't like Marc Farzetta?
How about love Marc? Come on. Love Marc. Where's the love button?
That's true.
Let's go.
We need a love button only for Marc. We need a love button.
Yeah, right. Yeah. What's up, fellas?
What's going on, buddy? What are you most excited about? You got to see Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore. Give me an excitement level.
Oh man, when Vic Fangio shouted out the Palladium, I was like, "Yeah, man!"
There we go. Yeah.
When he referenced the Philadelphia Stars,
he's one of us.
And Sean Landetta and Jim Morris. All that
team.
It was an incredible team. They're very underrated, and I didn't. Two things I didn't know, because when Fangio said that yesterday, it's 40 years he started his pro coaching career at the Vet. I went, oh yeah, the Stars, and then I Wikipedia'd it, and I was like, wow, I forgot I think the Stars went to Baltimore in the same year. Yeah. In the same year, though, no?
I don't remember. They were here.
Come on, John.
Years.
We're ready for this pop quiz.
Obviously they started here. They were how many? 3 years. So yeah, probably
like that.
84.
Yeah.
They were here 83, 84. They went to Baltimore 85.
Yeah, and then that was when I was Wikipediaing that. I also learned something that Vic Fangio's middle name is Mick. I didn't know that, John.
Nick McFangio. Yeah,
Vic McFangio. Vic McFangio. Yeah.
Vic McFangio.
This is why you guys bring me on.
I had to stop because I was using that because Greek mythology, for people that don't know, they have a bunch of gods. They have a god of everything. Yeah. But the minute I say, because Vic is the Greek god of defense, because he's the mythological great defensive mind in the modern NFL, people go where Marc Farzetta immediately went. He's Italian. I know he's Italian, you morons. I'm talking about Greek mythology.
Yeah, well, the Romans had their own gods too. Most of them ripped off the Greeks. But anyway.
Wait a second. Does Fangio have a Super Bowl that you're dubbing him the Greek god?
No, the league has. The league has. All right. Anybody for 100 points and a win. Yeah. Can anybody tell me the quarterback of those Philadelphia Stars?
That was well before my time, so I'm going to rule myself
out. It's a name I know, but I'm not remembering.
Penn State guy. Penn State, for all you Penn State people.
Which I'm not.
Jeff Kerr probably wouldn't. None of them would, because it's too old. I'm old.
Who do you got? Who is it?
The great Chuck Bucina.
Yes, of course. Yeah. I knew the name.
Babs in the chat picked that up before you even said it, Johnny Mac. Chuck Bucina.
Yeah. Two-time USFL champion Chuck Bucina.
Okay.
Yeah. Tremendous Penn State quarterback. But I digress.
Ken Dunnick was on that team.
Oh, yeah. Ken Dunnick was on that team. They had Calvin Bryant, who was a hell of a running back. They had William Fuller, who was great. But they turned out to be obviously good players. They had a ton of good players. That's when the real USFL was actually signing good players away from the NFL, for people that don't know. Yeah. Herschel Walker started there. I mean, there are so many great.
Reggie
Anthony Carter, Reggie White, the Memphis Showboats.
Yeah. What a great name.
That is a great
Memphis
name.
Showboat. Yeah. And I love the idea of Vic Fangio coaching up these guys and then having a basket of wings at the Palladium. There's something about that mental picture that is just beautiful.
Yeah. And the Philadelphia Stars have a great reputation, but the Showboats, much better name than the Stars.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
So I will agree. Palladium comment, was that a little bit of Vic Fangio pandering? Now
no. I said Xander, I said the same thing this morning. I went, some might chalk it up as pandering. Hey, pandering. That's him sharing his memories. He was like, he shouted out Packer Ave and the palladium. And I'm like,
as he pointed out,
selective memories. That's a selective choice there to start the
here's the difference. To me, here's the difference. Vic, obviously, he mentioned his mom is 97. She still lives 2 hours away. His kids live 2 hours away. He grew up in Northeast Pennsylvania. He's a huge Phillies fan. He's not pandering. He enjoys the area and all that kind of stuff. Now, Nick Sirianni's a damn Pirates fan, and so when he shows up with the Phillies jersey, and that's pandering. That's pandering. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with Nick Sirianni being a Pirates fan. That's where he grew up, and that's what he likes. And
other than they stink, but
people should be allowed to like what they like. What people, Jalen Hurts is wearing an Astros hat. Oh my God! Now he's got to wear a Phillies hat. Poor Donnell Pumphrey used to get killed for wearing his Dodgers jersey. I don't agree with that part, Mark. People should be allowed to like
Donnell Pumphrey.
Donnell Pumphrey.
Well, dude, this is great. The Stars references and now Donnell Pumphrey.
Pumphrey.
We're already off to a flying start.
Where else do you get Donnell Pumphrey?
Nowhere.
Philadelphia Stars, Chuck Bucina. Maybe I'll throw in some Rock Carmichael later.
Oh,
we talk about Chip Kelly.
Tell me you didn't, when you were watching that, tell me you didn't go, holy Lord, they're Rock Carmichael. We're getting a Rock Carmichael reference from LaShawn McCoy. And they couldn't remember his name. There are two guys that I felt were thrown under the bus more than Chip. Well, no, not more. Chip Kelly obviously number one. And then the distant second and third. Rock Carmichael when they couldn't remember his name at first. And then Josh Huff. Good old Hollow Point Huff.
Hollow Point, going over,
just Sean Jackson,
over the Walt Whitman.
How's this guy make the team? He went to Oregon. Oh my God. I was crying. Not like tears of sadness, but laughing my ass off. Anyway.
He went to Oregon.
Farzy, let me get your first takeaway from a football perspective. Let's get to the football side of it. What'd you think of the press conferences? I said to Johnny Mac, experience. They are adults back in the room. I thought it sounded good. I mean, it's just a presser. Yeah, but I did like what I heard. What'd you make of it?
I really liked a lot of pretty much everything I heard. A couple of things that really jumped out to me. We'll start with Vic Fangio there because he was the first one to go. He ain't gonna take nothing, man. Vic isn't here to take no crap.
Johnny Mac said that right at the top.
Okay. I love that. And the number one reason I felt that overall attitude, demeanor, just kind of. I feel like I know Vic Fangio. Like I feel like I know that guy. I know the level he's willing to go to before he's really annoyed. So I felt
lunch at the Palladium tomorrow, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. But we're gonna do the usual. But the thing that really jumped out to me was that, and I loved what he had to say. Two things I absolutely loved. Number one was the comment he made when he was asked about what's it take to have your defensive scheme be successful, and he jumped right to the players. He said good players. It wasn't like everything in my mind yesterday, because I watched the Chip Kelly stuff, and then everything in my mind was kind of associated with that, and I was like, well, that's the opposite of Chip Kelly. You get me a good athlete, you put him in my system, he'll be great, because my system makes the player. No. Vic Fangio was the total opposite of that. I think I have a good scheme, but what makes my scheme a good scheme or a great scheme is having good players. It starts with good players. So I love that he was open and honest about that, because it wasn't all about me. When we term it the Fangio defense, Vic Fangio himself is saying, no, hold on a second. I still have to have good players. Right. So I like that honesty. And then the other thing was, I assume him and Howie had like a meeting at some point where Howie was talking up Bryce Huff and how good Bryce Huff could be and all this, and Vic Fangio's attitude on it was, yeah, we hope we could be ready for this promotion. And I've been referring to it as a promotion for Bryce Huff, going from 41% of the plays to now hopefully 75% of the plays, closer to that Hassan Reddick number. And the way Vic Fangio was talking about it, he talked about it like he was an undrafted free agent who's getting a tryout with the Eagles. And I'm like, 3 years, $51 million. Vic Fangio doesn't give a damn. If you can play, you're going to play. If you can't play, you're not going to play. But 3 years, $51 million for a guy that might not be ready for the promotion, and also moving on from Hassan Reddick, that's a steep price, man.
I got a lot of good memories about Jim Schwartz with Vic. First from the presence and then the stuff like that. Jim was always like, when we try to praise the players. You go, we're not giving out gold stars here. He's like, he didn't give a shit, much like Vic. And I think, Jim's doing
That's a great comparison.
job.
That's a great comparison. Yeah. Do enough dumbass things, you'll be labeled a dumbass on the Nigel Bradham stuff. Oh my God.
Oh, tremendous.
Oh, beautiful.
Now, the one nitpick I have about Vic is when he was asked about the linebackers, Mark, he had to go in his pocket and get one of these. He had to get a roster.
Vaughn, yeah.
Like, that's not a good sign to me.
No.
I'm like, what he's got, we're throwing names at him. Oren Burks.
Oh my God.
That to me is not a positive sign. Your take on not being able to come up with the names of the linebackers.
Along your same lines, we got to reach into the depth chart. So why is Vic Fangio here? Let's answer that question. Vic Fangio is here, and I think the answer is geographical location and relevance to his personal life. That sounds like...
That's probably true.
That sounds... I mean, in all seriousness, he even said yesterday, I thought it'd be cool to come. Now, he could just be being cutesy, I guess, but you say, come back and where it all started. He was asked about the last go around for him, and he's like, yeah, probably, but you never know in this league. In other words, someone that offers me the bag of cash, and I could go elsewhere. But so, here's what concerns me, and I don't like saying this, but it's an honest thought that I have, so I'm saying it. Is this just like a cush pre-retirement job for Vic Fangio where he could be 2 hours from his kids, an hour from his mom?
It's fair.
It's like, look, put it this way. It's not my number one concern. Again, this is nitpicking. But if you're reaching into the old back pocket there for who's on this team again, that's concerning. And if the geographical locations to your personal life matters so much, I'm like, well, hold on a second here. If he was from, I don't know, if he was from San Diego, would he be coaching under Harbaugh right now? Or San Diego, excuse me, Los Angeles.
Chargers.
Would he be coaching out there with the Chargers right now? If he was from New England, would he be, joining that staff? Like, those are all things that jump out to me going, and he was so close to being here a year ago. It's just odd that's come up so often. So that just initial reaction that I didn't want to put out into the ether, but then yesterday watching him in the press conference go like, who's on my team?
By the way, that's a great Fangio impression. I want to clip that, Xander. I said, who's on this team?
Like I said, I feel like I know Vic Fangio.
Yeah.
Farzy, I was thinking about that completely different, and you might have just completely inversed what I thought. I'm thinking, let's get a guy who doesn't want to go anywhere else. Maybe we'll get some stability at the position. Meanwhile, Vic's waiting to retire in a year or two.
Well, you're 65.
I'll put it to you like this. I remember interviewing Andy McPhail with the Phillies. So stay with me here. I'm going to baseball, but that wasn't exactly a great era of Phillies baseball. Okay.
No.
So
great reputation, by the way, coming in.
Absolutely. Oh, my analytics before analytics were a thing, in the 80s there with the Twins and all that. But like, I remember interviewing him, and it was a little bit of a layoff there between the Orioles and the Phillies. I don't remember how long, but it was a layoff. And then I remember I was like, so what have you been up to? That kind of thing. And he's like, well, I learned. He had this really he had an elementary school principal kind of aura about him. Okay. And I was like, well, I remember I was learning how to grill, and I learned how to grill. I never really grilled before. And I'm like, this
is gold from Marc Farzetta today.
You put the quarter in the machine.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, hold on. learning how to grill. Like, this guy, the baseball was the furthest thing from his mind. And now he's running the organization. So that to me was worrisome. And I didn't get that exact vibe from Vic Fangio, but I did get notes. I got notes of the retirement gig. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's early. It's May. I'll learn the
exactly. I am all for Vic Fangio being here. You need the experience by far. I love it. I want to see what he does. But if this thing goes ass up by mid-season, it's like, oh, this guy got one last paycheck from an NFL team so he could be close to mom and his kids. And I don't fault him for that. I want to be close to my mom and my kids. So it's just a little worry. Just a little flare. A little flare of worry.
I applaud you. I didn't think of that. I mean,
you didn't think of the notes, John?
No, I didn't think of him just coming back for to be around his family, because I think there's been this assumption that he wanted to come back to be around the Eagles. I'm like, no, he wants to be back in the area for his family.
Right.
And I think you tapped into that. Now, because he was here a couple of years ago consulting, I think
that was weird too, by the way.
Yeah.
95% with the offense, John?
No, yeah, I've been reporting that for years. Thank you, Vic, for finally confirming that. Yeah, what Nick did, he set up. So he had Marcus Brady as well, who was helping the defense. So the whole thought process was have the offensive line help the defense. So you have that extra guy. How are you trying to attack this look, Marcus Brady, when we give you it? So, and Beck was helping the offense, vice versa. All right, if you get this look, what's the defense going to do? That type of thing. To me, it made perfect sense as a consultant, but people, had a big problem with it and assumed he was helping the defense. He was not helping the defense. He was helping the offense. And there's nothing wrong with that. But thank you, Beck, for confirming that. And thank you, Beck, for confirming that, yes, you would have been in Philadelphia had it not been for the timing.
Right.
Which, again, I have repeated ad nauseum for how many years now?
I didn't hear. The only thing that was shocking to me was the 95%.
Yeah, I'm surprised it wasn't 100%.
Okay.
I was told he was not helping the defense. He was helping the offense. So
okay.
There's more helping up the defense than I thought. But yeah, and Marcus Brady was helping the defense, who is now, I believe, with the Chargers. A couple Chargers references.
Look at that. Look at that.
There we go.
Not in San Diego, in case anyone
I like Andy McPhail, I was learning how to grill, so I got that right.
Yeah.
Kellen Moore. What do you think of Kellen Moore? Now, Marc, from my perspective, I get the feeling that they're trying to straddle the fence and saying, all right, we need some motion in the offense. Let's get some motion in the offense. But Kellen, you got to do this. I don't like that. If that's the setup, did you get that kind of feel?
What I got was open-mindedness is kind of what I got, which goes along with what Nick Sirianni had kind of been talking about, this meshing of schemes and all that stuff. Yeah. So that's kind of what the vibe I got from Kellen Moore. It was a huge difference between Vic Fangio and then Kellen Moore. You could definitely tell the old school, new school mentality. Didn't get a lot from Kellen Moore. The biggest thing that I've gotten about this Eagles offense, and what is kind of, I don't expect to get anything from Kellen Moore really giving us a lot of detail. He's excited to work with Jalen Hurts. He doesn't want to take away from the chemistry between Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, and the weapons that are already here. He wants to add to it. He's going to give a little bit of a different, of course, a different perspective, as one would obviously assume. But the biggest thing for me was there was a big question mark about the read option. And when he talked about embracing the run aspect of Jalen Hurts' game, that's where I thought he was a little bit more forthcoming, because he was asked about his first impressions of Jalen Hurts, and he said, all the right things. And then he talked about the run aspect, and it kind of made me think about him lining up under center a little bit more and handing the ball off in a single back formation to Saquon Barkley, for instance. And that made me go, okay, you don't see that too often. I'd like to see that. But the biggest telling thing about it was from something I'm actually a little surprised the Eagles released. And the Eagles put it out there on their social media. And it was clips of practice, whatever, little, everyone's in, not even shorts and shells. Everyone's just in T-shirts and shorts, whatever, sweatpants. And it was a read option play run between Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley. And I went, oh, wait a minute. This is a question mark. People are saying, oh, they're going to do this. Is out of Kellen Moore's bag of tricks. And I'm like, well, first off, if you're the edge rusher in that scenario and you get into the backfield and you see Jalen Hurts like this, I'm just checking for the camera. I know you don't do a read option this high. And you have the ball in the gut of Saquon Barkley, you're pooping yourself, okay? You don't know who you're going to take in that situation. You don't know if you're going to take Saquon Barkley. You don't know if you're going to take Jalen Hurts. And if to have that as a choice, you better guess right, son, because that's a ball that goes to the house if you guess wrong between those two. So I love the fact that they actually released that, let us know that it's something that they're running here. And I love the idea, if they are going to run it, that they're getting used to that mesh point, because we saw even with Kenny Gainwell last year, even with DeAndre Swift last year, that mesh point between Jalen Hurts and whoever the running back was, there was an issue, especially late in the season, with figuring out, okay, if you're the running back, is this ball for me or is this one Jalen Hurts is taking? So the earlier you get that implemented, and the fact that you're just in mini camp, rookie camp, the fact they're getting out there on the field doing that stuff, I think is fantastic.
See, that's what I feel great about with the meshing. John and I have kicked this around a little bit in the show where I don't want to put words in your mouth, John, but there could be a problem when you have an offensive coordinator like Kellen Moore and you're almost trying to force feed Nick Sirianni's offense down his throat. You know, hey,
and I'm not saying they're trying to force feed any. I'm not trying. They're saying they're trying to force feed the offense, but they're trying to force feed certain aspects. Like
right.
Kellen, this is your offense, but you got to do this. I don't like that. If that's what's going on, I'm not saying that's what's going on, but that's what Kellen kind of intimated that, well, there's things that have been successful here. And my whole point, Mark, is if he's a good offensive coordinator, that's going to happen naturally anyway. He's going to take advantage of what the players do well. What I don't want is him saying, all right, Kellen, you can do this, this, and this, but you have to do this. I don't like that. I don't think that kind of stuff can work. And I think it's going to be the biggest story of this season for the Eagles, how they mesh, how Nick Sirianni and Kellen Moore mesh together. Because with Big, we know Big's in charge of the defense. All right, go over there, Big. You got some shitty linebackers, but do your best.
Yeah,
but
learn their names.
Yeah,
shitty.
But this offense, you know, this is supposed to carry the team. And I don't know. I get a feeling they're trying, as I said, they're trying to straddle the fence. It's one press conference, though.
First off, I was just happy to hear from him. I wish the Eagles would do introductory press conferences at the time they hire them.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
It would be, it'd be nice for us all, and then do a press conference again. You know, after the first couple of practices together, let's just see what's going on there.
We got something to talk about on May 10th because of it. So from that perspective, I'll take it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But I'm saying
we would have had stuff to talk about before and May 10th or the start of OTAs. Then they would have talked again. So you have more, and then we can get on. Yeah. Now we had all this philosophical. So you'll see very few questions about players because we had to get the philosophical stuff out of the way. Big got a couple questions, linebackers, Bryce Huff, couple questions, but not
Cooper DeJean, Quentin Mitchell.
John, let me point out the silver lining, will you?
Yeah, well, yeah.
You know what would have been great? You know what would have been great, John, is at the end of the year press conference when the story broke that Fangio was coming and Sirianni and Roseman were up there and they're all answering questions. And then it would have been great if they would have been like, no, we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to talk about that at the end of press conference. Be like, hey, keep your seats for 2 minutes. They go, they sign the contract with Vic, and then he comes out. And Vic Fangio then addresses the media as the new defensive coordinator.
But you gotta play the game when it comes to tampering. The Eagles know that. They're still under investigation. You gotta play the game though. There's a certain way to tamper. And he can't be overt about it. The Eagles have been a little bit too overt about it lately, I think. Yeah. And they might get dinged for it, but we'll see.
Legal tampering, which as any common sense human knows is just called negotiating.
An oxymoron.
Is what it is. Yeah, it's a preliminary negotiating period.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Anyway. Yeah, I feel good after the two press conferences. For the most part, I feel good.
I feel like there's adults back in the room for what that's worth. I feel like they're competent. They've been in the NFL.
Or Sean Desai. And by the way, Sean Desai is a big guy too. You got asked about Sean.
I'm not saying that as a slight to Sean Desai, though. I'm really not, because I honestly didn't hate Sean Desai as much as many other people didn't like him. I really didn't have much of a problem with him. Now I didn't see him on the inside the locker room, but I didn't hate him that much. I will say that when you get a guy like Vic Fangio,
you could break out your
different than Sean Desai.
You could break out your professorial Andy McPhail impression for Sean Desai because he's actually got a master's degree. He's professorial. Yeah.
And
he doesn't have that big Fangio hard scrabble Northeast Pennsylvania presence that you need. That's what it's all about, presence.
I think that's a good way to put it, though. And again, not to slight the other guys, but they didn't have any experience. I mean, 1 year of experience between the two of them in the current position they had last year, and that was Desai. But Yeah, you definitely feel like the adults are in the room. Yeah.
Mark, that's been one of my issues. Like, if you hire somebody with no experience, isn't it your fault if you don't expect growing pains? Like, shouldn't that be baked into your thinking?
Hell yeah. I said it last year. Last year, especially with the offensive side of the football, it was a very arrogant thing to go. I mean, for both things, very arrogant to go with that little experience when you're coming off a Super Bowl win, or excuse me, a Super Bowl appearance, a winning season, and you come in with two very inexperienced coordinators. Like, that's the big the cliche analogy of giving the keys to the Ferrari to a guy that just got his license.
I wonder how much the Super Bowl played into it, though, right? They got to the game so late in hiring, and they even lost their coordinator so late in the game. Maybe that had something.
Did people forget that Jonathan Gannon had no experience and Shane Steichen had very little experience? It was the exact same thing. It was
also took them 2 years, though.
Yeah, exactly. But they got time to get through the growing pains, whereas it was the same thing. Brian Johnson had no experience, so he was Jonathan Gannon. Sean Desai had very little experience, so he was Shane Steichen. It was the reverse on sides of the football. But those guys, the originals, they got time to get by the hiccups. But because the expectations were so high going into last season, those guys didn't get that opportunity to grow through the hiccups. I blame Jeffrey Lurie for that. If you thought you just went through it, guys have to grow in that job, and they weren't given the opportunity to grow. And now you have the veterans, and we'll see if it works. But
different.
He should have known. He should have known, Marc Farzetta. He should have known there was going to be some growing pains. You don't just learn to grill. You got to be taught how to grill.
Marc Farzetta.
Fair point.
Make sure you follow Marc on Twitter at Marc Farzetta and watch the Farzy Show, one of the best shows in Philly, 6 to 7 a.m. every day. And you can catch the replay on the JAKIB Sports channel or on the Farzy Show channel. Farzy, I'll leave you with this. One last question for you. Who's got more pressure going into the season, Vic Fangio or Kellen Moore?
I will say Kellen Moore for the same reason that I say you have a pressure pack situation for Jalen Hurts. There ain't no excuses out there. If this offense, and John and I have talked about this before, if this offense is out of the top three, like obviously winning matters above all else, but talking about this offense, because the offense is stacked with talent. The only concern talent-wise has to do with both athleticism and mentality, knowledge of the game. And that has to go with Cam Jurgens and the communication with Jalen Hurts. And that could be an abysmal failure that makes everything else fall apart. But operating under, I think, a good assumption that it's not going to be the reason this team falls apart. I think this offense is going to be stacked. And if they're out of the top three, then that's an abysmal failure. Defensively speaking, I mean, this is where the questions lie. You're most likely switching to a 3-4. You're looking, you're looking at linebackers you don't have a lot of confidence in. You're looking at an edge rusher that you just signed for $51 million from the Jets after moving on from Hassan Reddick, that your defensive coordinator's first impression is, hey, let's see how he handles it. Ugh. That's not good.
Late in the show, so I'm not going to yell at you, but I am going to.
I was going to say, you just brought up a crime to McMullen. That's
what's the problem? What's the problem, John?
They're not switching to a 3-4. For all the 3-4 people, they're running the same scheme. Explain to me the 3 and the 4. Who are the 3 down linemen? Who are the 4 linemen? When do the Eagles ever have 4 linebackers on the field? Even if you want to talk about
edge rushers,
right? Yeah, edge rushers. They're not linebackers.
Okay.
They run a 50 front and a 40 front. It drives me insane, Mark.
All right.
Mark, I got ripped on that a couple days ago.
I'm just saying it's all, John. A lot of off-season left.
It's my pet peeve. I'm sorry.
But they don't even know that.
If you believe they're running a 3-4, so many people do. But if they believe they were running a 3-4 with Jonathan Gannon and they were running a 3-4 with Sean Desai, so that part hasn't changed.
What did they run with? This is a horrible example going back to Chip Kelly era. Billy Day, 3-4 under.
Yeah, they ran a legit 3-4 with Billy Davis.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, Vic runs multiple fronts, 50 and 40.
He's very versatile, John.
Yeah,
very versatile.
He is. 50 front, 40 front. That's what you're worried about.
All right.
Funny Mac, we got to do a segment on that next week where we teach the people what the 3-4, the 4-3, the 50 front, the 40 front. We got to give Johnny Mac a chance to open up on that. Marc, thanks for joining the show, man. You're great as always. Make sure everybody tunes into the Farzy show. Marc, we appreciate it.
The Roman gods, John. There's Roman gods too. Damn it.
Yeah, he's still Italian. I can't use either.
See you guys.
See ya.
There's Marc Farzetta, everybody. Make sure you drop a like on the show for Farzy. Always fun listening to Farzy. Good stuff today from Marc. He had me cracking up the whole time and taught me something too, which was good. Good stuff. We'll take our final break of the week. Wow, that week went quick. Friday, May 10th here, so cruising right along. We'll take the final break, come back, let Johnny Mac wrap up the show with his final thoughts from the coordinator day, and we will see you on Monday. It'll be back. Won't be back till Monday. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll come back, put a wrap on this Friday edition of Birds 365.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.